Sups up everyone, welcome to another video, and today's topic is going to be Crow. I don't know if you guys have heard yet, but Crow has been nerfed in Korea and other regions. Now some of you may be quick to correct that Crow himself is not getting a nerf. I mean, at this point, Crow is already a beat down horse ready to take its last breath, but somehow by the miracle of the gods, there's a glitch in the Matrix which just allows this character to be in tip-top condition. Nay, he is literally right now scraping the heavens when it comes to how incredible his damage potential is. So really then, is Crow getting nerfed? Or is it the bug, more precisely, the jetpack bug being changed? Well, first I need to ask you guys this question, right? Do these two things have to be mutually exclusive, or can they both be happening simultaneously? Yes, Crow the character isn't getting nerfed directly, but is getting nerfed regardless. Because with the jetpack change, Crow will not be functioning as he currently is. By textbook definition, I would want to say that is a nerf to the character's performance. Currently, people are divided between the nerf is needed to put Crow more in line with other DPS, as well as people saying you can't nerf units even indirectly, as many people have already spent resources leveling and advancing them. If you are somewhere in between this, that's okay as well, right? So far, I've been just outlining what others are saying and giving context to the situation at hand. So most of you probably already know all of this is going on outside of global, but eventually letting you know there's a very high likelihood that this will be coming to our servers as well. So in light of all this, if I may give my input, it would be something like this. It's fine to remove the bug. So as long as either A, compensation will be issued for those who have chose to level and advance Crow. The reason for this is that this is not a new issue. It has existed in the beta and even further back on the CN server. The developers were aware of this and decided to release the game to the public in this state. Now that over a month has passed and players invested a truckload of resources both in-game and out of game, a nerf would be a direct slap to those who has been playing until now. Don't get me wrong, I understand fully how impactful the Crow jetpack abuse has been on the gameplay, both for PvE as well as PvP. But truth be told, it's not very realistic right now to clear the most difficult content that we have, which is Frontier Hard Mode. Now, a lot of you guys would argue, nah, like the most difficult content is the highest floor in the Bygone, but the most meaningful group content that affects the vast majority of people, right? If you're talking about floor 500 in the Bygone, 99.9% of you aren't even close to that. But Frontier Hard Mode is something that everybody is constantly working on, and without the amount of damage output with the Crow jetpack buff, well, let's just say 5 chests is probably incredibly difficult, if not impossible to achieve, even for the biggest of whales. The characters right now just simply don't do enough damage to total around, I'd say off the top of my head, it's somewhere around 250 million damage total between 4 players. And of course, not to mention the absolute terrible state that PvP has been in ever since the Crow abusers started spamming him in the ladder. But regardless of that fact, I do think the removal of the bug is necessary for the continuation of the game going forward. And currently, it is difficult to discern exactly who has spent resources into Crow to abuse the bug and who played Crow regardless of knowing whether the bug existed. There is currently no fair or just in this situation. Since you cannot tell them apart at this point, compensations will have to be issued out collectively, indiscriminately, of the reasons they invested into the unit. This will be the easiest way going forward if HOTA wants people to move on relatively fast. And now we have option B, which is the far less likely one, but can also work. The reason being is this is an option where the bug is removed still. However, the studio will rework Crow's kit to bring him more in line with other DPS options. Now, this is something I'm sure many would be okay with, but there's a slight problem. This is going to cost HOTA actual resources. Whereas option A, we are dealing with digital assets, meaning they can just generate it from scratch and call it a day. They are losing potential revenue that hasn't been occurred yet, but because they gave us all this extra resource, there is a less likelihood of people spending to attain them, right? That's potential gains. That's what they're losing out on. Option B here will be requiring Hota to divert new resources in rectifying this mistake. And if there's one thing I've learned in life, is that companies will always take the cheaper way out, which leads us to the last option here, right? Option C, which still removes the jetpack bug, but just adjusts the numbers and not actually rework Crow's entire kit. And of course, smaller compensations will be delivered along with these number adjustments for Crow, kind of like what they did for Frigg's numbers here. So nothing big and game changing, right? This will not require as much human resources to achieve as option B, and you can sprinkle in some dark crystals or like black gold, and we can all move on from this in a somewhat win-win situation. Now, with all that laid out and said, which one do you think Hota will choose to go with? You have 5 seconds to answer. 3, 2, 1, ding ding. From my experience, once again, companies will go with option, that's right, you guessed it, D. Remove the bug and give out the bare minimum. What, like 300 crystals, 500 crystals, plug an apology letter, something like that, right? When the bare minimum is the industry standard, why strive to do any more? Now, this is not me singling Hota out. It's just the attitude most companies give out these days. Brush it under the rug and wait for things to blow over. Stay silent in regards to the issue and shadow ban people who stir the pot. All in all, it's expected that Crow's jetpack nerf is going to come soon to the global servers, and there's nothing we can do about it at this point in time. I heavily advise people to not invest into Crow solely for his DPS potential right now. So many things are all happening at once, with 1.5, the artificial island, and eventually 2.0 soon after that. Changes to Crow's effectiveness in the current given meta may be completely overshadowed, but I urge you, even if you prefer to stay silent on these matters, to closely observe how Hota Studio handles this situation, because ultimately this is their mess that we all got dragged into. And combined with the black gold exchange bug not so long ago, what sort of actions will be taken to assure situations such as these occur less in the future? Will players be less incentivized to spend on a game that has constant problems every single patch? Will whales want to spend thousands on the off chance a character is going to go from S to B tier without so much as proper notice or worthwhile compensation? This may not be game shattering, nor will it affect the majority of your playing experience, but it will be a telltale sign of the integrity in which Hota upholds. And depending on how this is resolved, Tower of Fantasy may end up being a long-lasting and successful port, or a candle that burned twice as bright but half as long. Till next time, I urge you all to stay safe and peace. Bye.